Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Wednesday drawing session with me, Frank Cho. There's my Micron Pigma pen, size 01, 05, and 08. Now, today I am going to do something different. I'm actually, the only reason I'm doing something different is because I'm under a really tight deadline right now. So I actually have to draw this Harley Quinn versus Zatanna cover. And I decided to work on that, show you guys me actually working on an actual cover. So I basically penciled the entire thing out and I got approved by my editor. And so I'm in the inking stage. So, when I draw the cover, my pencils are somewhat tight. It's not super tight, but tight enough for me to ink. And once I have that down, I just start, just basically go straight to it, inking. So what I like to do is I often like to just go ahead and outline the entire figure with my pen. Just ink the entire outline, essentially creating like a coloring book images. I mean that's what my style is. My style is very open, very simple, and very clean. And actually, a lot of my colorists really enjoy coloring my stuff because it is so. I mean, there is nothing to decipher or confusing about it. It's very simple and clean, and that's what I like. I like that, and I think that's like I guess Jeff Darrow was a big influence on me when I draw my stuff. Before I used to try to do a lot of the cross hatching and shadows and all that stuff, like like Frazetta and Williamson and Neil Adams and all those guys, all those absolutely fantastic guys. But I noticed that my style tend to favor clean lines, like Jeff Darrow and Mobius and stuff like that. So I that's why I naturally gravitated toward just clean, simple lines. And also another reason that I actually another big influence, should I say, is Alphonse Mucha. So Mucha was this Art Nouveau poster artist, Czech poster artist, and from Czechoslovakia, and from the turn of the century. And the guy was an absolute master of doing these really beautiful, clean drawings with these intricate designs. So Alphonse Mucha was a big influence on my style. So as you can see, I am just like at this point just outlining, just going over the pencil line with my ink, just outlining. I'm not really doing any cross hatching or anything. Right now I'm just kind of like following the pencil line and outlining the entire figure. So I'm working on the hand, and and I guess those are called cuffs. Now, the great thing about my editor on this project is Eddie Choi, and he actually is a really great guy, and he lets me do pretty much, gives me a lot of freedom to do whatever I want. And I think they originally wanted me to draw it on the new costume because Harley Quinn is one of those characters that constantly changes costume. I mean, at this point, I think she had like about a dozen costume change. But I've always preferred the original costume created by designed by Bruce Timm, and which is the black and red one with the white collar. The only thing that I did differently was I just removed the headgear and the domino mask. For whatever reason I didn't like that thing covering her hair and the face. But the costume I like because it's very simple, it's very designy, and is very iconic. So my editor agreed with me, and then so he actually kind of let me do the original Bruce Timm costume. Now, so a little background on Harley Quinn. So Harley Quinn, aka her real name is Dr. Harleen Frances Quinzel, is I think, a psychologist, or psychologist or psychiatrist. Psychiatrist, I think it's psychiatrist, because psychiatrists are they can actually prescribe medication. And so, so Harley Quinn was Joker's girlfriend, if I remember correctly. So the first appearance of Harley Quinn came out in a cartoon show first, in Batman the animated series, in 1992, and it was created by Paul Dini and Bruce Timm for the cartoon. And I think she was originally like a throwaway character, one and done kind of character. But unfortunately, or fortunately, she was such a big hit with the audience. She became a reoccurring character, and her first comic book appearance was in the comic book The Batman Adventures number 12, issue 12. That came out in 1993. And so and that became, I guess that's when she became like one of the regular character in the Batman universe. So she's essentially, her power is, I'm not exactly sure what her power is. I think she has like a Olympic gymnast skill set, so she can do. She's flexible and can do flips and all kinds of stuff like that. But I don't think she really has any power other than she's very smart and clever, like the Joker, and also kind of crazy. And and so, God, I'm trying to think what her power is. Oh, so so I think Poison Ivy kind of gave her, kind of amped up her power. Basically, made her immune to toxins, and also amped up her strength, agility, and reflexes, and and other stuff. So she's kind of like, I guess, like Joker in a lot of ways, like a female Joker. But she's not a psychopathic criminal. I think Harley Quinn is actually kind of a gray area, almost like an anti-hero, kind of like Lobo from DC Universe, who started off as a villain and then became like an anti-hero. So also she is an expert in various weapons, a lot of goofy weapons, a lot of like pop guns and rubber chicken and boxing gloves, and all these, like, and mallet. She has this oversized mallet that she uses as a that become her trademark. But yeah, I mean, she's a highly qualified psychologist, psychiatrist, psychoanalyst, and forensic science and all that stuff. So she is a very smart cookie, but she's just kind of crazy. I think Joker kind of like turned her crazy, which I thought that was kind of funny. And and she also has two pet hyenas, Bud and Lou. I'm not sure. I'm not sure where that came from. If that came from her, from the cartoon or the comic book. I think it came out in the cartoon first. So she is basically, Harley Quinn is, a cartoon character first and foremost, and then she later on became a comic book character on the success, on the popularity of the cartoon. And I think along the way they kind of made her into a had like a romantic relationship with Poison Ivy, and that's why I think Poison Ivy kind of enhanced her, gave her super strength, and not crazy super strength, but she could, she made her a really tough cookie. Um, so yeah, I think that's it. I mean, like I can't really think of anything else. And she used to be the Joker's girlfriend, and until I think they broke up because Joker being a crazy psychopath, she got tired of the abuse and just kind of like dumped Joker, or Joker dumped her. I don't know. I don't know which came first. So I'm still outlining the entire thing, and I just had to pencil in the little triangle. So Harley Quinn has these like triangular little design patches all over her costume. The original costume by Paul Dini. I mean, not Paul Dini, by Bruce Timm. So I'm trying to think if there's any other interesting facts about Harley Quinn. So in the movie, Harley Quinn was played by Margot Robbie, who I thought was an excellent choice. I mean, I thought Margot Robbie did a absolutely fantastic job as Harley Quinn. I'm not sure if if they're gonna bring her back in the James Gunn DC universe, in the movie universe. If they're gonna have Margot Robbie come back as Harley Quinn, because I think she's kind of I think she's gotten a little too big for the role, and also I think they're probably gonna get someone younger if they're gonna bring Harley Quinn into the DC movie universe, since they're gonna probably, like Marvel, gonna make multiple movies. So I'm pretty sure they're gonna get someone younger. But if I do have to pick Margot Robbie's replacement for Harley Quinn, I thought Samara Weaving was another Australian actress who looks very, very much like Margot Robbie. Would be a pretty decent replacement to play Harley Quinn. So Samara Weaving, I think she was like a model and an actress from Australia, and she's mainly known for doing a lot of horror movies. And if you guys ever get a chance to check out her movies, she's actually pretty good in it. And she also looks very much like Margot Robbie, and I think she would make a pretty decent Harley Quinn. So once I have the outline done, I am going in and basically adding the alternating black design of the costume. So actually, this is like I actually enjoy doing the cross hatching, um, because it's very relaxing, and it's kind of repetitive, and kind of it put me in a really easy frame of mind. I mean, like a lot of people ask me, is it kind of tedious to do all that cross hatching? Yes and no. For me, most of the time, no, not really. It just like I said, is very meditative. It kind of put me in a nice frame of mind. And also, I'm a very control guy, so I like to make sure all the line that needs to be, like I like to control every line in my art. So what you will see is once I do, I basically crosshatch one way, and then I go like perpendicular, and go the other way, and then I keep building up the lines and just kind of changing the angle of the ink line until I achieve the level of grayness and black. Now, normally I would be like rotating the paper around. Since I'm shooting this video, I try to keep the paper stationary. Now there's more cross hatching. So as you can see, I basically changed the slant of the ink line so it's perpendicular. The guy who does really good ink lines, controlling the ink lines of cross hatching, creating these beautiful shades of gray and black by ink line, is Gerhardt, who did Cerebus. He was the co-artist on Cerebus, and he handled all the background art and stuff like that. I actually met the guy a couple of times, and he's actually a really nice guy. Really nice guy, very talented. And I think he's up in Canada. That would explain why he's so nice. But yeah, I actually teamed up with him and did this Jungle Girl, Jungle Girl art print, and I did the T Rex and the Jungle Girl, and then he actually got him to ink the background, and he did this absolutely just beautiful jungle scene in the background with all these intricate cross hatching. Really super talented guy, super talented and super nice guy. Yeah, so at this point, I kind of got tired and then decided to go in with a my brush pen, Micron brush pen, and start adding in the large areas of black. I should have done this first, but I wasn't really paying attention. So when I'm inking the black areas, I try to keep the high point area the lightest. So when you're painting like a black bowling ball, like a black bowling ball, the top, the high spot where the light hits, that's where the highlight is. And so the in the curved surface, the darkest is the the side of the curved surface, and then the high point of the curved surface, that's where the light is. And so using that, I am adding all the heavy blacks in that the curvature of the arm and keeping the middle portion kind of light. Yeah, so there I am kind of inking the kind of the musculature of the her lower torso. So when I like people ask me, so how do you like ink like black costume, like Black Panther or Black Cat, and where the costume is just completely black. So and how do you like kind of show where the muscle falls and all that? It's actually easy. I look at a lot of bodybuilding magazines. So a lot of bodybuilders they put on this really dark artificial tan, and and I use a lot of how the light and the shadow falls on the bodybuilder. I use that as reference. If I get stuck on how to create muscles and the separation of muscles on characters that wear like super black costumes. Yeah, normally I would use like my Indian ink with my watercolor brush, but unfortunately, it takes a long time for that to dry sometimes. So like once I put it in, I have to like wait like 10 minutes, and I'm trying to rush through this video. So I use the Micron Pigma brush pen, which is great in a pinch, but it's not as super dark as I usually like. Yeah, the Micro Pigma pen brush pen is actually one of my favorite brush. Unfortunately, the tip doesn't last too long. After several time inking with it, the tip starts to fray, and you don't get that sharp point anymore. That's when I usually like cut the tip slightly, and then use that kind of. Then it becomes a little bit dry, and I use that, which will create this beautiful feathering for when you're inking hair. So that kind of reminds me of a famous artist, Robert Fawcett. Robert Fawcett was this great illustrator from the 40s and 50s and 60s. And a lot of his illustration was done with marker pens. And he would often go to his artist buddies, other illustrators, and go through the trash and take all of the his friends' drying up markers, dried up markers, because he would the way he used the markers, the dried markers, had this really beautiful texture and line. So it's like a split hair technique. So the when the marker dries, it doesn't have like a solid line. It often has like multiple lines. So and so he would use that multiple line look to ink his stuff. And when he does it, it has this really weird kind of like organic quality to his ink lines. The split hair technique is very unique. The guy who is absolutely wonderful at it is Mark Schultz. So Mark Schultz, when he does the split hair technique, is just no one can touch him. No one can touch him. And the guy Mark Schultz learned it from, or was the inspiration, was Dan Smith. So Dan Smith was an illustrator from the 1920s, I believe, around that time, 19 teens, 1920s, and he would draw these like beautiful full page newspaper illustrations using that split hair technique, and it's unfortunate that there isn't like a major art book of Dan Smith, because Dan Smith was another master artist, like a forgotten master artist from the turn of the century. And the reason why a lot of his artwork doesn't survive, or no one really knows him, is he did mainly for the newspaper, and the newspaper is unfortunately was a throwaway medium, and so no one really saved the newspaper art, because you can't really save newspaper art, because the newspaper was printed in the most cheapest, most most fragile paper. It was a single consumption kind of thing. Newspaper. It was another throwaway medium. Once you read it a few times, you toss it in the trash. So they never used really high quality paper for to print newspaper. And and that's unfortunate because a lot of Dan Smith's some of his greatest illustration was for newspaper, for the newspaper, and because of the paper quality of the newspaper, a lot of his artwork never survived. And to my knowledge, no one has collected all of his original art and put out a massive art book. Actually, there's several artists that I think that need like an art book. I think Dan Smith is one of them. Dan Smith and what's his name? Abby. Abby is another guy who is a another master artist who deserved like a major art book and a career retrospective. So once I have the blacks down, contouring her muscles, it's kind of easier for me to go in and with the ink pen and really start darkening up the body parts. So you can see I rotated the paper and then to get a different angle of the slant of the ink lines. It's actually funny. Like usually when I'm working, I have I usually listen to a lot of audiobooks. I mean, I listen to so many audiobooks. It's not even funny. I often have listen to music, audiobooks, or I listen to TV shows. Law and Order. I love Law and Order. So Law and Order SUV. Those two shows I watch constantly, and I have it on the background because since they're like TV dramas, there really isn't much action, visual action. So it's mostly just dialogue. So I often listen to a lot of dialogue heavy TV shows or audiobooks or music. So now I got all the shading down, and I'm just kind of like lightly erasing the pencils, just to kind of give me a more of a more of a cleaner image for me to go into the second phase of the inking process. So erasing most of the pencil line, it gives me a chance to see how heavy I should start inking the lines. So this is where my where Alphonse Musha inspired me. Where this is where I got my inspiration from or influence from. So Alphonse Musha would on his figure work he would do like this bold, dark outline of his figure work, and that's what I'm doing. So that bold, making the outline of the figure in thick bold ink lines, it just makes that image, that figure pop more. It just kind of like makes that overall figure like like pop more, stand out from the background. So Alphonse Musha did that because he was mainly in the beginning of his career was mainly a poster artist, and so when you're designing a poster, you want the figure work to pop out, or you want you control what elements of the illustration to pop out by making that in thicker lines. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm just kind of using that old technique. So a lot of people thought that I use a brush because I have this very even, thick outline. But no, I'm kind of like I'm doing what Al Hirschfeld did. I just go and thicken the line by using multiple thin lines. I'm sure the people are wondering what's the paper? What kind of paper do I use? I only use one paper. I use a Strathmore Bristol board 300 series with vellum surface. I've been using that paper, gosh, for about 25 years now, more than 25 years, since the start of my career. Wow, 1990, I started working on it 1996. Yeah, for 29 years. Yeah. Has it been that long? 1996. I was still in college. So, yeah, 29 years. I worked as a professional artist while I was still in college. Man, time flies. Shit, yeah, so I lucked out. I actually ran across Strathmore bristle board paper and I fell in love with it right away, the 300 series. And I've been using that ever since. So I started using that on Liberty Meadows when I wrote and drew Liberty Meadows for the newspaper, for the newspaper syndicate. And then later on, when I got recruited by Marvel back in 2002, I start working on start using my own paper. So Marvel would send me their paper, pre-cut blue line, 11 by 17 Marvel paper. But I never liked the Marvel paper. I thought it was just really bad paper. So it just like after when you erase the pencil, it would just rag up the paper. And so it was just really piss poor paper. So so after a couple of times, I just gave up on the Marvel paper and started using my own paper, Strathmore Bristol, which I bought at an art store, and I would just like cut it to size, rule it out using my ruler and T-square, rule it out all the borders, bleed borders, and and all that stuff, the gutters, and then and I cut it and create my own paper. And I would use that instead of the Marvel paper that they would send me. And so far, I've loved the paper, and I'm glad that they still make it. They're not gonna go out of business anytime soon. Well, that's the thing. I was actually talking to Al Williamson at the start of my career. I'm a huge fan of Al Williamson. He would tell me, just go ahead and start hoarding art supplies. If you find the art supplies that you like, just go ahead and hoard it because like sometimes they'll discontinue it. Because I know that Al Williamson, he couldn't find the brush that he used after a while because like he used this one kind of brush. I forgot the name of the brand, but he said that company changed I guess the hair of the brush or something, or they just alter how they made the brush, so the brush no longer would keep the tip, you know, and he said so he had a hard time finding a replacement. And actually, a lot of artists that I talk to, they get locked in to one art supply, and then sometime like many years later, that company goes under or get bought out, or they change the formula on how they make the tools, so it just becomes a nightmare. So that's why I have like boxes of Micron Pigma pens and like boxes of Strathmore Bristol board paper. So so I'm stocked up. I'm stocked up for the next few years. If I don't buy any new art supplies, I still have enough art supplies to last me several years. So I'm going in and just thickening those outline. And then I realized I forgot to thicken the outline of her shoes. So there I am going in, thickening it up. Yep, there it is. Finished the foot. And I think I'm done for now. So there it is. Inking Harley Quinn. Hope you guys enjoyed it.